Good morning, friends, and welcome to today's cichlids and coffee. And hope you're having a great weekend and having a great cup of coffee. And I see we have a few folks here on the chat already yakking it up. Hey, Vibes, one of my moderators in the house. Hey, Paul, the two Pauls, Paul McCarthy and Paul Newman in the house. Good morning to both of you. And we also have Cat Sailor. Hello, Cat Sailor. Good to see you. Luke's Aquatics in the house. Angelo, and who else? We got Michael and Z-Zip. Jeremy. Hey, Jeremy. Hey, Denny. Denny in the house telling me the AV is good. Thank you, my friend. That is something I like to hear. Nick in the house. Nick Garcia. Now, Nick, you're not Garcia's Aquatics, right? I met Garcia at Aquashella. Garcia's Aquatics. Is that you? Is that somebody else? It's like Ronald is in the house and Michael Welsh. All right. William Dyer is here. Sundar. Hey, Sundar. Good to see you. Adam's in the house. McReynolds. Good group. And we'll wait for a few more to jump on and we'll get this show on the road. So very quickly, let's do a couple real quick shout outs here. A shout out to my friend Josh over at Cunningham Tropicals. I'm wearing his t-shirt today. You can see it here. And he has arranged a discount. Use ben.o.15 for orders on fish and ben.o.10 for all dry goods, including his homemade fish food. So check out Josh at Cunningham Tropicals and use those special discounts that he's set up for us. And thank you for that, Josh. And also a big shout out to all my monthly supporters, my Patreon members who help me out so much, more than they know, in things like, projects and getting to work, getting out to the conferences, things like that. Patreon kind of provide this sort of backbone to the channel, and your support is very, very appreciated. To become a Patreon, you can check out the details in the description. Any other bills to pay? Oh yeah, be sure to visit Teespring if you want to get a coffee cup, a coffee mug, a sweatshirt. Really, just about all my swag is at Teespring, and visit my Teespring store for all kinds of goodies. I might be throwing some new stuff up over the next few weeks just for the heck of it. So check out the Teespring store. And last, if you want to support the channel and you use Amazon, use the Amazon link. It's just amazon.com/shop/ben.o.cichlid. That gets you to Amazon. All your prices stay the same, and anything you buy gives a small percentage to the channel. So it's a great way to support the channel. And who isn't using Amazon these days, right? So amazon.com/shop/ben.o.cichlid. Your first stop will be my Amazon store, which has a whole bunch of fish stuff. And then you can navigate out of that and, buy whatever it is you want to buy at Amazon. But it still gives credit to the channel because you got there using my link. So it's kind of a cool program that Amazon has set up for folks. Atkins Nature Aquariums in the house. Hey to you, my friend. Hey, Jerry. Good to see you, buddy. Glad you're lurking. Fin Sanity. Love that name, Fin Sanity. Z-Zip in the house. Let's see. Did I say Z-Zip already? Cruise Aquatics. Hello to you. I'm glad you can catch it live too. And let's go ahead and do the official start. What do you say? All right. Now it's official. So I decided to use the 210 as the background today. They've just been looking so good recently. And they don't seem to be really that camera shy. A couple of them, the chocolates are camera shy. And a lot of them do like to come right up to the front and get into the camera. So I decided to use the 210 as the backdrop. I might turn the camera around and show you the 90, the planted, and the 300-gallon African cichlid tank. They're all doing fine. And I only have one fish that's having a little difficulty right now. That's the tangerine tiger, and I've talked to him before. I just think he's just getting a little bit old. So not sure he's going to end up looking any better. He just looks a little bit worn out. I watch the tank a lot. Nobody's harassing him. He doesn't really have any serious fin damage like a fish that's being beaten up. So there is some interesting changes going on in the 300. Whereas before, without question, the trout was the tank boss. There's no question about it. The trout was the tank boss. But the other day, after I did a top off on the sump, so you had some fresh water, and it tends to stir the fish up when you add fresh water. Some people think it's because it mimics the rains of Lake Malawi, gets them into breeding mode. They start dancing with each other, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But the all of a sudden, the Fusco was obviously in charge. Everybody was staying clear of him. He was going. He would do quick little chases, not hurting anybody, just asserting dominance. And so we may have had a peaceful revolution, a peaceful change in the power structure in the 300, and the Fusco might be the new shot caller in there. He is a big, bulky fish, and Nimbochromis are notoriously aggressive. No damage to the trout, so it's not like he fought anybody to move into dominance. I think he just sort of outgrew everybody and just became bulkier. The trout is still longer, but the Fusco is just bulkier. And maybe I'll make a short little video on it, and I can show you some close-ups of the fish. For a while there, I thought that the Buccochromis rhodesii yellow was going to end up moving into the top spot because he was getting so long and bulky and was asserting himself. But he sort of mellowed out and calmed down a bit. And then after I did that water change, the Fusco went to a solid color. Now, when a patterned African cichlid goes into a solid color, that's referred to sometimes as breeding dress, and it means that that trouble is on the way. So anyway, maybe I'll flip the camera around and show that the African cichlids are doing great. I do want to put some more fish in there. I'll work something out with Josh. Maybe even see where James is at. Maybe pick up a few from Cunningham. There are lots of good sources out there. Of course, Josh right now is working and providing us with a discount code. So he's technically the channel sponsor, but of course I still have some loyalty to James. He helped me out a lot in the beginning. And James is getting back on his feet. Now, I do notice, looking at the 300, that the Fusco does have a couple little tears in his anal fin. So maybe, I don't know, maybe the trout nipped him and said, "Whoa, not so fast there, buddy." So I don't know. We'll see. I'll show them to you later. Always, never a dull moment. Never a dull moment with African cichlids. Warren Venter in the house. Hello to you, my friend. Hey, GP. Let's see. Jay Leah. Hey to you, Jay. And K Stu. Having a cup of coffee and saying hello. All right. If I missed you and shouting out your name, it doesn't mean I don't like you. It just means I just didn't see it. All right. So today's topic is, by the way, Who can give me? We'll make a game out of it. You remember these? I've been giving away some of these coasters. This is the new coaster for the channel. It's a little like a coffee, cold or hot drink coaster. Kind of cool. But I'll tell you what. Whoever can identify, I want you to give me the common and the scientific name for the two fish on today's thumbnail. Now, I can't include the we can't have the moderators in this. Moderators, I'm sorry. I know you probably know already. You got a link yesterday, so that wouldn't be fair. But everybody else, whoever can give me the scientific name of the two fish that are on the thumbnail, I'm going to send you a coaster, a sticker, and some sample food. If you're in the continental United States, it can't be out of the U.S. because shipping gets nuts. But and moderators, can you please tell me who guesses it first? Moderators, keep an eye on it and tell me who the winner is. And you're going to get some fish food, some Sarah, and some Northfin, and a coaster and a sticker. How's that sound? All right. So go ahead, go get it. Some of you are probably logging off to look at the thumbnail and then logging back. Or you can just check on your phone if you're watching on a computer. I'll give you a clue. One of them's in this tank, and one of them is in the 300-gallon. There's your clue. All right. So today's topic, I got one last week. Oh, okay. Good, Jeremy. You got your coaster. That's good. Awesome. And I like them. I like the way they came out. They really captured the colors. And I was watching some of the live stream with John and Lisa the other night. I know they're going to be stocking their own T-shirts as opposed to using Teespring, and I think that's a pretty good idea. I mean, he had a point. If you wash those Teespring T-shirts like 20, 30 times, you're going to start seeing the patterns fade just a little bit. The way they print them. So getting a different kind of silk screening, I get it. I get it. But the coffee cups seem to be good, and the coasters and stickers are good. So I think they do a good job in those areas. And some of my T-shirts, like my Garage Gang T-shirt, I've washed that thing 50 times. It seems to be okay, but it is kind of speckled now. So, at any rate. Okay, someone says Phosochromis rostratus and red tear. No, Michael, it's not not a red tear. Guess again. Atkins keeps a mixed reef. Nice. You know, I've thought about some of those all-in-one reef tanks that have the built-in filtration in the back, and just to start messing around with corals. I just think that corals are a rabbit hole that if I go down that rabbit hole, I'll never come out again. Because I absolutely love the look and the colors of corals. They just drive me crazy. When I snorkel, which has become less and less now, but when I have gone snorkeling, I go into a trance. I just drift and drift and drift. And one time I looked up when I was in Puerto Rico, and I think I was about a mile offshore. And I looked to maybe more, and the Coast Guard was up in the tower, and they had their binoculars, and they were looking right at me. I just keep drifting and drifting and looking at the beautiful fish and the corals, and all of a sudden you look up and you go, whoa, the current had carried me way. Anyway, I love corals. So I think I would get really addicted. And anyway, hey, Whips World in the house. Hey, buddy. Glad you're here. All right. Jeremy says the Cichlid Bros. I like the Cichlid Bros. Those guys are, I like their content. I like what they do. I like their tanks. And they're talking about, it looks like they're talking about a reef tank. Right. I'm seeing some, now remember, I want the scientific name. I see that somebody got it right, but I need the scientific name. That's what's making this challenge a little tough. K-Stew, it was. And my wife doesn't snorkel. She was on a lounge chair, on the sand reading. And then she looks up and she can't see me anywhere because the water was a little choppy, right? And so my breathing tube was not visible, even though it had a bright red tip to it. So she's looking around. She can hear the music from Jaws playing in the background. Fortunately, I was able to drift in. Not sure if I could have made that swim. But when you have fins on, it's you can swim a little bit stronger than without fins. Adam, I need the scientific name, buddy. What's the scientific name? Keep an eye on those guesses. Keep an eye on those guesses, moderators. Our Aquatic Universe with Mike B. What a great name for a channel. Yeah, it would be, and yes, Mike, that would be the consideration would be the time involved, because I know it would take time, even though the smaller compact aquariums might not require as much time. There's all the dosing and things like that, which I'm sure they have that streamlined as well now. But for me, it would be, I know I wouldn't stop with that compact tank. Fast forward 5 years, and I'm converting this into a saltwater coral tank. You know what I'm saying? I mean, or I've gotten another 300-gallon tank, and I'm turning it into a coral reef. So I just know the way I go. And so I think I'm not sure if I even want to start on that adventure. Jerry says Adam wins. All right. Adam got it. We have a winner. So Adam, send me your complete name, mailing address to ben.o.cichlid. I'm going to send you a new holographic channel sticker, a coaster, and samples of food for Sarah and also for Northfin. Tell me in your email the kind of fish that you have, and I'll try and get as close as I can, depending on what I have on hand. I'll try and get as close as I can to what you have, okay? But yes, the fish on the right is a fired up chocolate. This chocolate was just very fired up, and I was able to catch him on camera. Come over here, chocolate. Coco 1 and Coco 2. And the other fish, of course, is the sand diver, who I think is just a beautiful fish. And that takes us into today's topic. What is it that makes a fish special? I want to hear from you. What is it that makes a fish special? I'll tell you what I think makes a fish special. And I've certainly had a lot of fish over the years that had a very near and dear spot in my heart. And when I eventually lost them, it hurt a little more than when you lose another fish. You know that fish was special because when he passes, as my youngest daughter likes to say, it hits you in the feels, F-E-E-L-S, right in the feels. And so for me, one aspect was growing them out. A fish that you took from a fry had the wonderful realization, if it was an American, if it was a African cichlid, that it was a male, and then watched it blossom and develop and become just a big, beautiful showpiece. A couple fish that come right to mind for me was a Fusco I had early on. I had a beautiful Fusco, had some red in the body. It was just such a gorgeous fish. And I lost him due to an oxygen issue. That really hurt. And then I also had a Autopharynx tetrastigma, which I lost not that long ago, that I grew out. I brought him back from a little bit of like a little minor case of bloat. I thought I was going to lose him for sure. I brought him back with some Fritz A+ salt. I was able to bring him back. And then he lasted for several years. And then I eventually lost him. But, you know, we had been through some stuff together, right? We had been through growing out, blossoming, coloring up, surviving some trials together, and then enjoying him in his beautiful, you know, in his beautiful coloration. So fish that you grow out, fish that you experience something with, bring back from a disease would be an example. I think in a lot of ways that makes a fish special. Now, there's some other factors which are kind of obvious, and I think we get into the idea of temperament. Like, let's say you have a fish and you have developed the relationship of feeding them, hand feeding them. I had an eye biter back in California that was a real finicky eater. So what I would do is I would feed the tank, and then I would go back to the back corner of the tank and feed little pieces of frozen krill and things like that to this eye biter. And when I would start putting the dry pellets and where those pellets are flakes into the aquarium, he would go right to the back corner because he knew that's where his treat was coming from. And so him and I had this understanding. So I would feed the fish, and then I'd work my way around to the back corner, and I'd basically hand feed him some little pieces of frozen krill. And so we had this relationship, right? This understanding. So definitely getting into a hand feeding or some kind of a predictable reaction with a fish can definitely also make a fish special. And when I sold that eye biter, when I sold all my fish in California, I was definitely a little sad to see that guy go because we had been through quite a bit together. There's some obvious things too. You know, sometimes a fish comes with a story. And thank you, Warren. Thank you for that super chat. I appreciate that. Sometimes a fish will come with a story. Like, let's say the tear behind me, or rather, the red tear in the tank behind me was, hand delivered by Whip, from Whip's World. And so there's just a little bit of a backstory with the fish, and he's a spectacular fish. He has some little behavior things that are kind of cute. The way he goes in his cave, the way he'll stalk, the way he'll go after some floating dried worms. I mean, the way he'll stalk it and attack it. I mean, he's got certain things that have sort of endeared him to me. And the fact that he's really beautiful and has, just wonderful color and size doesn't hurt either. Now, in this tank, I mean, this Oscar, who you folks know, I picked him up. He's about this big. So he's over twice the size of when I first got him. And he's very, very interactive. He has no fear. And before I feed them, I have to move the computer, because if the computer is here, he will get water all over the floor. As soon as I open the top and move my hand, he is flapping and he makes just a big water mess, and it doesn't bother me. I think it's hilarious. And so he's a bit of a, he really is a water puppy. He's just a big water pup. And having him, I mean, he was beautiful when I first got him. If you folks have been following my channel, do you remember when I first got him? He was like striking, even as a small fish. And now the way his red has become so prominent, it's like a red-orange. And the fact that he has an O for Ochart on the back here. Anyway, he's just a beautiful fish. So size, color, but also quirkiness. Some fish are quirky. Like I've heard that people that own flower horns, they can have quirky behavior and very, very interactive. Will follow your finger. They'll let you hand feed them. You know, there's certain characteristics that take it beyond the realm of just being a regular, like just a regular fish in a tank, and more like a pup, more like a water pup. So what do you folks think? What do you folks think? What makes a fish special in your mind? I'd like to get your take. And also, I think also temperament. Temperament has a lot to do with it. Like the African cichlids right now, as far as African cichlid tanks go, every one of those fish is a bit special to me because, except for maybe an hour after a water change, when they get a little fired up, every one of them is just sort of they're just sort of mellow. The sand divers, super mellow. The trout, all things considered, the hawk, right? Even the fusco, 99% of the time, the turquoise, the coingi, the Buccochromis rhodesii, the Buccochromis spectabilis. They're happy just to sort of drift around, mind their own business. And I think that's just very, very cool with a species of fish. Now, why is that? Is it because they've been together a long time? There's a lot of water movement. The lights are off for a good number of hours each day. They're not lit up all the time. There's good water quality, I think. High quality food, so they're not, they're not hangry, right? They're not walking around hungry. I mean, they're getting good nutrition. I don't overfeed them. They get fed once a day, but they're not going around undernourished. A lot of factors, I'm sure. But what do you think? What do you think is a reason why? What makes a fish special in your mind? So Warren had a message with his super chat. Since it's been a while? Been a while since I've been able to join the live stream from home. Hope you're all well. My brother visited today with his wife to let me know I'll be an uncle. It's awesome. There you go. There you go. I've got another grandchild coming in February. So I'll tell you, it's a game changer. It's a total game changer. So thank you for that, Warren, and congratulations on new unclehood. Is that your first one? Your first niece or nephew? All right. Let's see who else here. If you have any comments on today's topic, go ahead and share them now. Jeremy Moore, I feed once a day also, and does a Sunday fast. Yeah, sometimes I'll fast, and sometimes I'll have a treat day. Like I might just give him some frozen krill today. I give frozen krill to the African cichlids. I give bloodworms as a treat for all the other fish, but the African cichlids don't get bloodworms. I've heard it could provide a digestive issue. By the way, a little plug, and I'm not sponsored by them, but I'd like to just put a little plug in for some of the blackworms. I got some freeze-dried blackworms from Super Cichlids. Super Cichlids over in Delaware. Lisa and her family, they run that shop. Great people. Check out their blackworms. Tell them Ben Ochart sent you. And she sent me some. Boy, just great stuff. The fish went crazy. And my red tear went nuts. Just loved them. So Whipswirl says, personally, the biggest reason for me, I think, that's why I don't much care for the prettier but boring fish species, raising them up from fry into monsters. I'll tell you that you can't help but feel a sense of connection with a fish that you brought up from a baby, from a little fry, from a little gray fry. And even where's Sally? Has Sally been around today? Some of these guys have been hiding behind me, but even Sally the Salvini in the Nicaragua back here. She's such a little sweetheart. Look at her. Firemouth, always trying to pick on her. But even the Salvini had very muted colors when I first got the Salvini, and now the Salvini is just crazy colorful. If I can get her to come out. Funny, usually she hangs around out here. There she is. The Salvini didn't have as prominent a red belly as she has now. And it wasn't until I got her home and started researching. You know how sometimes you buy a fish and then after you buy him, you do the research? But I discovered that the red belly was the females. And so I just got lucky with this fish. And so watching that fish sort of light up like that really makes a difference. Same thing with the Vieja. The Vieja was a third the size and was all gray. This fish right here. And now that Vieja is as big as the Oscar. Now the Oscar will eventually be larger than that Vieja. But for right now, the Vieja is a little bit bigger than that Oscar. And sometimes they challenge each other. But fortunately, it's never gotten into anything violent. So yeah, I'd agree, Whipwhirl. I would agree that raising them up and personality too, if they have a personality. Is there something quirky about them? Like I used to have a Buccochromis notatania, and all day long he would just go up and down, kind of like the way sometimes you'll see a Cory cat. They'll just go up and down on the glass, up and down, up and down. Never stopped. I used to call him the Energizer Bunny. I had him in California, and it never stopped. It was like where does this fish get this energy? And really cute fish. I think I ended up selling them when I left California, but again, just sort of a little quirkiness that sort of endears you to them a little bit. So Atkins Nature Aquariums is getting bit by a clownfish. Do the clownfish do they have teeth? Oh my goodness. I got bit by the chocolate. Let me tell you that I've talked about it before. I got a little mark on my finger where the chocolate cichlid actually gave me a little tear. So they definitely, the chocolates definitely have teeth. And I felt it. It was not fun. So Jeremy Moore says that my red devil female is sweet water puppy, except when she lays eggs, and she's crazy, and I have to scrape off the eggs to calm her down. Yeah, something you got to watch out. K-Stu says our Frontosa will be hitting 12 years. They can go 30 years, K-Stu. They can last 30 years in February. Any fish you can hand feed or interact with is special. I agree. 30 years. My joke with Frontosa is I don't want to buy a fish that's going to outlive me. Now, that's my concern about my, getting back to your comment, Jeremy, my concern about the red tear, putting them back here, because I do want to try them back in the 210, except this time I'll put the cave a little bit different so that it doesn't create the battle for the cave and then the Salvini torpedo, shooting out of it like a torpedo. But I would like to breed them because the females are spectacular. If you've never seen a red tear female, they look like a saltwater fish. So, but if I were to put them together, if they did start breeding, apparently they become extremely aggressive. So I couldn't have that happening in here, or I would definitely have some casualties. Luke's Aquatics says that clownfish choose violence. They're not into negotiation. Oh. It's like Ronald had a breeding pair. Yeah, they have to pair up, I understand. And sometimes if they don't pair up, they can end up killing each other. So it's definitely a project that you have to keep a close eye on for sure. M&C Aquatics, I had to get stitches a couple times from the doveye. Oh yeah, I've heard doveys. I've seen videos where doveys actually will draw blood. Now, one thing a story that's been coming up recently on my feed are people who are saying that they picked up a type of infection, especially if you have a compromised immune system, or if you're normally prone to these kinds of things, that you could pick up an infection from your aquarium. And it doesn't have to be after a bite. Some people, I imagine a bite would make it even worse, but just working on the aquarium and then not washing your hands and, let's say, grabbing your sandwich and eating your sandwich in the fish room while you're working on the aquarium, that there's a type of salmonella or a type of infection that goes into your lungs and makes it difficult to breathe. And I thought that was limited to saltwater. Apparently it's happening with freshwater as well. So just something to keep in mind. Have some very simple, organic, non-toxic soap in your fish room, and definitely keep yourself clean, and don't go right from aquarium maintenance to your mouth or to your eyes or something like that, because who knows? Now, for some of us old salty dogs like me that have been doing this for many years, maybe we've developed a little bit of immunity, especially for those of us who used to siphon, right? The old school, suck on the hose, get a mouthful of water, spit it out. We probably have quite a bit of quite an immunity going on. So let's see here. Lady Diane, you're having trouble with your angelfish? Yeah, angelfish, as I've said before, are not angels. Luke's Aquatics, that's right. Any open wound, I mean, let's say you get hangnails and you bite them, and sometimes, those things bleed a little, then you go into your aquarium, um, depending on the strength of your immune system. Jerry says, I've been infected by the hobby. Yeah, but that's a Jerry, that's a mental issue. MTS. And you know who else has got a bad case of MTS, multiple tank syndrome? Where's Denny? Where's Denny Rudell? He called me the other day. I felt like I was doing an intervention. He's in an apartment, and he's starting to pick up all these aquariums now, and it was a cry for help. Okay. Our aquatic universe with Mike. Yeah, somebody got from up. I was walking on the north shore of Hawaii, and I stepped on some coral, and it cut the bottom of my foot. I kid you not, it took almost a year before I could say that was completely cleared up. So I definitely got something, and it always had a little bit of sensitivity, and granted you're walking on it all the time, right? And I was walking barefoot all the time, which probably didn't help. But yeah, coral definitely can be a little tricky. Razin in the house, giving me flashbacks with the sucking on the hose to get the siphon going. Yeah, we probably, some of us fish keepers, some of us old dogs, we probably have some of the best immune systems out there just from sucking on the hose. And who knows what was already living in the hose. You use the hose, you hang it up, you see a few little black spots in it, whatever, you suck on it. Who knows what you've got going on, right? Yeah, you're good. You're mental, Jerry, but it's a good kind of mental. It's a good mental. There's good crazy and there's bad crazy. You're good crazy. The vieja is fighting. Yeah, he'll challenge the Oscar. And Oscars are funny. They'll just hold their mouth really wide and just sort of loom around like, look how big I can get my mouth. But sometimes it will turn into a little bit of a lip lock. See, he doesn't realize, or maybe he does, that Oscar is going to get much bigger than him at some point. Hey, knock it off. Anyway. Fortunately, it never turns into anything too violent. And of course, because I've said that, they'll probably get into a wild lip lock. M&C Aquatics. Ben, I think Lucas Brett's that's LRB Aquatics, by the way. Check him out. LRB Aquatics. Great channel. Great guy. Met his wife and his son at Aquashella. He brought a giant Christmas bag of plants that he was just handing out to people for free. Just a really good guy. Check him out. LRB Aquatics. He's got 300 tanks. That's MTS. That's MTS right there. All right. So Whipswirl talks about a certain disease. He spells it out there. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. A skin, yeah, and apparently something can get into your system as well, which can then spread kind of like hives around your body. Some people that have sensitive immune systems wear gloves. They will wear gloves when they work on their aquarium. You're right, Lady Diane. Wagging the finger. I try and be the dominant fish and let them know that there's a more dominant fish in house, but that doesn't always work. And in their defense, they haven't been fed this morning. I don't feed them before a live stream because I want them to be a little feisty and a little more responsive. After the live stream, they get, you see what I'm talking about? After the live stream, they'll get fed. Well, let's take a look at I talked a lot about the 300. Let's turn the camera around and look at the 300 gallon because I talk so much about it. So watch the 210 while I get things set up here. So here we go. You can tell they're hungry. So maybe the trout is still the boss. I don't know. Nobody really messes with him. You can see him there. He's got to be pushing around 10 inches. Let me light it up a little better. I never have it this lit normally. It gives you a good look at the fish. There's that Fusco. Now you see the way he's all patterned up? You can make him out there. Right in the middle of the mix. That guy right there. That's the Fusco. And when he's patterned up like that, when you see the blotches on the body, he's okay. But if he gets solid blue, that means he's gone into breeding dress and he'll start to act dominant. There's the gar with his crazy lips. I really thought that Rhodesiae yellow, see him somewhere in there. There he is. I thought he was going to become the dominant fish. This guy right here, just a beautiful fish. Bucochromis rhodesiae yellow. But he's kind of mellowed back. He's dialed it back a little bit. So I guess if I had to bet, I would say that the trout is still the tank boss here. Nobody messes though with that sand diver. The sand diver is pretty big and chunky. See him right there. But he's just a big goofball, and he doesn't mess with anybody. Nobody messes with him. He just kind of minds his own business. See him right there. Beautiful metallic blue and green on the top of the body. And again, he's one of those fish where he's become very special. A lot of it is because he is just such a big goofball, and just a sweet fish that doesn't really want to mess with anybody. He just wants to swim around and mess around in the substrate. Now let me see if I can swing this around and get us over to the 90. We'll make one stop at the planted tank. Actually, let's look at the red tear a little bit. I'm far enough back where I won't scare him into his cave. Spends a lot of time looking at the fish in the 55 planted. Boy, he would love to get in there. My hornwort jungle, I harvest from there and put it into the other tanks. You hear the fish in the 90-gallon doing great. Including that SAE that I brought over. As you know, I brought the Siamese algae eater. I brought him over from the quarantine tank because I didn't want him picking on the albino hecali, the long thread, the albino threadfin acaras. There's the red shoulder that you normally don't see the red shoulder because when I get close to the aquarium to film, he disappears. But I'm far away now using more of a zoom lens. You can see that red shoulder severum. Of course, the geos are gorgeous. Red spotted gold severum. The electric blue acaras are hiding behind the wood. Here's one of them. Two of them in there, beautiful fish. Plants all seem to be doing well. I'm using the pump, from the aquarium co-op, liquid fertilizer, easy green. All right, let's turn this thing back around. I'd show you the hecali and the betta and the live bearers, but where I have the camera positioned, I can't quite get to there without moving everything. So how did I do that without knocking everything over is a miracle. You saw all the cords and cables that are involved in getting a live stream going from the camera, from the mic, and everything else. But there you go. You were able to get a lap of the fish room without it being really a lap of the fish room. All right, just fine tuning the exposure. All right, any other questions that you'd like to ask? I'd like to go ahead and answer for you. Any questions? Atkins, I am running a big green killing machine on the 90-gallon. It was all part of the process of trying to defeat the lateral line erosion, hole in the head disease, which is pretty much gone. I have one scar over the eye of one of the geos, but there's no signs of hole in the head anymore, at least not that's progressing. So I went from running it 24 hours a day, and now it runs on the same timer as the lights. So I'm not burning out those UV lights too quickly. So it's giving UV filtration when the lights go on in the aquarium, which is 6 hours a day, maybe 3 hours in the morning, 3 or 4 hours a night. That's how much I run the lights. And of course, on Saturdays, I run them longer because I'm in here doing the live stream. But yeah, I am running a UV. It's the larger version of the green killing machine. It's got the bigger, like 25, 29 watt UV light, and it's rated for up to 120 gallons. So on the 90-gallon, it's keeping that water really good and helping with things like viruses and bacteria. Now, the kind of UVs that come in canister filters, they do a little bit of clarifying. They do clarify the water a bit, but they don't really kill bacteria or viruses per se, because the water is running by the light too quickly. It just can't do it. You really have to get a twist type that you splice in with a separate pump. But I found that this green killing machine was just a real simple all-in-one solution. It comes with its own power head. and it moves the water slowly past the UV light. So, and the water clarity in that 90 gallon is excellent. So I hope that answers your question. No other tank has it. Now, if I did set up a discus tank, I think for sure I'd have UV in it, only because they tend to be pretty sensitive as far as fish go. Luke's Aquatics, water changes are done on 4 out of 10 tanks. All right. That's the positive way to look at it. As opposed to, oh no, 6 more to go. 4 done, yeah. That's the staying on the positive. The glass is half full. So let's see here. The SAE is about, I would say, 2.5, 3 inches, 3 inches maybe. The Buenos Aires tetras are getting in, are a good size. I think one of them was carrying eggs. She was looking kind of chubby, but you know, they're doing their job as a sort of a dither fish. Cat Sailor, you are welcome for that FX6 video, and I'm going to be releasing an update on the Upshot. Let's say that you can't hear the alarm right now because it's not going off. I do have a watchdog alarm. I talk about watchdogs a lot. This is a watchdog alarm. The bottom of it, if you can make it out with the lighting, the bottom has two little electrodes down there, and when water creates a connection, the alarm goes off. Now, you can stand it up. You can stand it up in, you know, next to whatever it is you want to monitor, so it'll just stand there. Or you can remove the electrodes, and it comes with about over 10 feet of 10 feet of cable or wiring. So so like in the case of the FX6, which is behind the 300, I have the watchdog on top of the aquarium facing the door to my garage, so that if it starts beeping, I can hear it in the house. So I'm using that long cord. But if you want to, you can also just set it somewhere. These things are about $10 or $12, $15. They're at my Amazon store, right? Amazon.com/shop/ben.o.cichlid, all one word. I think I carry them there, but definitely they're worth having if you have anything inside your cabinet or on the floors around filters, canisters inside of Rubbermaids. You put them inside the Rubbermaid. Anyway, they've paid for themselves a couple times. Now, the SAEs can be a little nippy, Jeremy. They can be nippy. They and mine was starting to follow around and sort of kind of linger or lurk over the albino heckelite, and I didn't want to take a chance of having him damage the fins on those heckelite, because I mean, they get those long trailers, and it's just a perfect fish for a nipper. So the heckelite are perfect for nipper fish. So I took him out of there the second I saw him lurking, put him in the 90. He seems to be doing okay in the 90. He does chase the Buenos Aires tetras around a little bit, but you know, he stays in place. Everybody in there is so much bigger. The geos and the heckelite and the serums are so much bigger than him, so he stays away from them. But they do a good job. I bought them originally because someone told me that they were good with black algae, that the SAEs are one of the few that will eat and get rid of black algae. So that's the original reason I got him. He was part of my black algae adventure, which I have a whole bunch of videos on black algae. but he did okay on the black algae. Jay Lee wants to know my opinion on cross-breeding cichlids. I think what you breed in your aquarium is your business, as long as you don't, if you're not selling. I mean, if you're selling and the fish looks, it looks a little bit like a Taiwan reef, but it actually has a little bit of flavescent or ruby red in it. It's not really a Taiwan reef. You're gonna kind of mess up the line a little bit. But if you're just doing it for fun and keeping it all to yourself, that's your business. But if you're going to get into selling and calling it something, I would avoid the hybriding. That's my opinion. Some people lose their mind on that stuff. I don't. So, Kat, I'm glad you found that FX6 video helpful. Somebody thought I was ragging on FX6s, but if you watch the video, I'm actually, yes, I point out some of the problems with the FX6. Cost, the price point's very high. Replacement parts, very high, and you will need them. So when you buy an FX6, buy some valves and have them sitting around. But on the plus side, like I said in the video, it runs 24/7 at very high pressure. And what can you buy out there that you can run under extreme strong conditions 24/7 year after year, and it keeps running? So, it's and it is a very heavy duty unit, all things considered. So I think, once you get, over 3 or 4 years of use, like I have with mine, the cost kind of amortizes out, kind of evens out. And it wasn't really that expensive when you consider you've been using it for, I think, what, 6 years now, 7 years? So that makes the cost less. But at the same time, I've got a 704B I've been using for 7 years, and I had to replace an O-ring, which cost me $3 or $4. So anyway, you make up your own mind. Denny, I'm still not sure about going live real close to the holidays. I will post something in the community page about whether or not I'll be going live. I am going to have my oldest son in town. We're going to be doing some things together. We're going to be visiting a place called Uncle Nearest, which is an hour and a half away. It's a very famous whiskey distillery. We're going to be getting the tour, and apparently there was a fellow who was a slave, but who knew all the secrets of whiskey. It was his formula that became Jack Daniels, if I remember correctly. And they used to call him Uncle Nearest. And so we're going to go to the Uncle Nearest distillery and have a lot of fun down there. And so anyway, so maybe not. We'll see. I'm not a huge drinker, but every now and then I will sip on a little bit of Tennessee or Kentucky whiskey or bourbon. So I'm looking at the chat, seeing what you folks have to say, checking out the chat. So Adam says that mollies will eat Black hair algae. Wow, that's good to know. Yeah, black hair algae. I mean, once it gets going in an aquarium, it drives people crazy because it spreads, it's onto the plants, it's onto all of the decor, and it is just. I mean, you can scrub and scrub and scrub and use you know, hydrogen peroxide and do all kinds of other stuff, and then the damn stuff just kind of comes back. And so, I mean, in my case, I was using the SAE. I'm looking at the SAE right now, eating a little algae off of one of the rocks in the 90-gallon. He is a hard worker. I know plecos, once plecos get a little older, they get a little lazy. This little SAE is working his butt off. And I like him. I like the look. I like the shape, that long torpedo shape. But I tell you, the best tip I could give you about any kind of algae, and I know this is impossible with some aquariums, like this one here and my African cichlid one, because it's full of plant destroyers. But the best solution is to just start putting in other kinds of plants, especially plants that grow like crazy, like your duckweeds, right? Your hornwort, your sprite, some of your anubias, just real hardy plants, and just put things in there that are going to outcompete for nutrients. And that was what finally got me to turn the corner on my planted egg layer tank, that community tank. What finally got all the unwanted algae to disappear, both black and to some degree green algae, was putting in so many plants that there just wasn't any nutrients left for the algae. The algae just got outcompeted, and so that's. I mean, I used the phosphate pads. I did more water changes. I did less light, and apparently with black algae, it can grow. I think it can grow in the dark. I think less light actually helps black algae. So anyway, it was a bit of a complicated issue. What finally turned the corner on it for me was putting so many plants in there that there just wasn't any nutrients left for the black algae. And after the black algae disappeared and was pretty much gone, I started using the fertilizers. I mean, if you start putting in nutrients and you got black algae, you're going to have healthier black algae. So you just got to watch the fertilizers, and it's a bit of a balancing act. But getting other plants to outcompete, that really, really solved it for me. All right, let me look at your comments here. Atkins is going to sumps on everything. Sumps are awesome. I use sumps and canisters together. But yeah, I really believe. So I even have a playlist, I think, that talks about how sumps are the king of filtration, because they are. I mean, there's not all the extra water for dilution, the amount of media you can put in one, the flexibility with pumps. Like the 300 has two pumps, so it has a two-heart system. So if one pump fails, I still have got circulation going. So I've got large sponges in there. It adds, I don't know, it's a 40-gallon breeder, but you don't run it all the way to the top, and you've got media in there. So I'd say it's probably adds another 30 gallons to the volume of the aquarium, and you have the old, dilution, the solution to pollution. So you're adding more water volume. So I think sumps are amazing. So you can't go wrong. I do suggest you go with two pumps. That seems to be the, if you want to know about sumps, you go look at the saltwater community, especially the people with corals, because if they have a crash, they lose $10,000 worth of coral. So you go look at what they're doing, and you'll see that they have two pumps, right? They have backup pumps. And so that's just something to keep in mind. Yeah, Kentucky, Judeo, Kentucky does have great distilleries. We're going to be going to the uncle nearest is here in Tennessee. It's about an hour from here. That's where we're going. And my youngest son, he's really the whiskey aficionado and a good friend of the family. So the three of us are going to go have a boys' day out. Bristlenose plecos. You're right. You're right, Jay Leah. Bristlenose plecos. I've had these plecos actually clean up an aquarium. I actually have a pretty big bristlenose in that small pleco grow out tank. He came out of the wood the other day, and he was pretty big. So I think I'm going to move him into one of the bigger tanks and see how he does. And the bristlenose that I have in the planted is getting a little bit too big. I might have to move him. I do have a pleco living with the red tear that somehow has survived. I know the red tear would probably eat him if he could, but he's very smart about staying on the opposite side of things, rocks and filters. But I think that red tear would eat a small pleco if it fit in his mouth. The Tabaric Aquatics 75-gallon sump on my 300 is a lifesaver. Yep. I had a 60-gallon acrylic for my as the sump for the 300, but I couldn't get it under the stand. I was going to have to cut the side of the stand, and I just didn't want to cut the side of the stand. I had it all marked off. If you look at that side, you can still see the pencil marks where I was going to cut it to get the 60-gallon in there, and I ended up going with a 40 breeder, and with the large Swiss tropical sponges. Seems to be doing fine. Tabaric, the red, the albino hecli, all 5 of them are doing great. They're very frisky. They're following me around. They're eating like little pigs. And I'm just in love with them. Absolutely in love with them. All 5 of them are doing wonderful. They're still in quarantine. They'll probably be in quarantine for a while. And then I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them. Am I going to put them in a species-specific tank? Am I going to put them in the 90? I don't know. I've heard different stories, different people about what they think I should do with them. I do have a 60-gallon acrylic that I might want to bring into play. So we'll see. I still haven't decided what I'm going to do with them. Right now, I'm just quarantining them and letting them have fun. In that 29-gallon, their only tank mate in there is a small pleco. Atkins, yeah, not every tank is 10 grand. I'm talking about those big tanks that have, just beautiful, beautiful coral reefs that were grown out over a 10-year period from a lot of frags, and now the corals are large. Their areas of the tank are covered in coral. I mean, what would be the replacement value of an aquarium like that? You're talking, it's got to be thousands and thousands of dollars. So those guys are using big sumps. They're using several pumps. They're they have apps on their phone that tell them if anything is off, right? So CC Custom Leather Works in the house. My giraffe cichlid is a gentle giant. Gently ended potential fights between my tank boss, OB, and Red Empress. Rehome the OB recently. Yeah, sometimes you have to rehome them. And isn't that funny? Sometimes you can get a tank boss that does that. If you get a gentle tank boss, and I had one like that in California, and I think it was a Venusis, a giraffe, and when fish would get into it with each other, he would come around and get between them and kind of go, hey man, settle down, calm down. He was like, he was like the playground monitor. Jadeo, I'm not your. I'm not a Mabuna. I can't say that I'm a Mabuna expert. I kind of like the sound of those two species. You may have a problem, but you can have a problem with a single species tank too. I think if you provide enough cave work, and I always tell people who are doing Mabuna tanks to stack those caves, create a condominium effect. If you have enough caves, I think you'll be fine either way. Jeremy Moore has red Gara. Is that how you pronounce it, Gara? I've had the pandas. I've had a panda Gara before. Really cute fish. And they do. They are, the way they stick to stuff and where they decide to hang out. And yeah, they are very, very cool to watch. All right. Well, we're well over the hour here. I want to thank all of you who super chatted. I might not have said thank you to all the super chats. I wasn't watching the chat on a regular basis, but thank you everyone for joining in today. Thank you for this great live stream and a great Saturday. I'll let you know if I'm going to be going on next weekend. With the holidays coming up, this might be the last one for 2023. We'll see. I was going to do I like to do a kind of an end of the year giveaway. I might check with some vendors and see if they want to participate in that. It is a lot of work, and with the granddaughter and a lot of other stuff going on, not sure if I'll be able to do it, but I'll try. And if I do, it'll be during a live stream. Do a little end of the year giveaway. Give away maybe some gift cards. That's pretty easy. And so stay tuned for that. I will be doing an update on the FX4. Stay tuned for that. And maybe an actual walkthrough of the fish room where I'll show you the FX4 or the FX6 rather, and show you the Hecali, the live bears, and the betta, which I couldn't show you today because I just couldn't do it. Hey, thank you for that super chat, Whips. Always appreciated. Thank you to all of my wonderful Patreon members for their ongoing support. Thank you to all my subscribers and my wonderful moderators. And with all that being said, I think we will go ahead and end off this live stream. Have a great weekend, friends. You are the best. You rock, my friends.